Hello and welcome to Pitch Purpose, the podcast for marketing leaders in purpose-led organizations. We know that behind every marketing campaign, there's a marketing professional that's trying to balance profit and purpose. My co-host is the wonderful Emma Healy from Thinking Hat PR. Welcome, Emma.
And I'm here with the fabulous Iain Scott, founding partner of digital agency Exceptional and CEO of Base Creative. We're marketing and PR professionals with something to say.
As it's our first episode, I thought it'd be great just to get into a little bit more detail about what you can expect as we move through our first series. We're going to be asking some of the country's most experienced CMOs, marketing directors, about the defining moments in their career. Whether it's breaking the internet or pioneering new campaigns, we're going to be getting deep into some of the successes and the failures and how campaigns have launched and how they've landed.
We'll be sharing marketing campaign insights, looking at the impacts, successes, and those key learnings, as well as the all-important financials and the return on investment. The podcast is aimed at people in a marketing role from within purpose-driven organisations. And really, this is about understanding how our fellow PRs and marketers balance profit, purpose, and the planet.
So welcome to Pitch Purpose. Today we're joined by Vanessa Jarrad, who I'm really looking forward to learning a bit more about your journey, Vanessa. Before we do that, I thought it'd be great just to learn a little bit more about each other. So Emma, you're CEO, MD, forgive me, and co-founder of Thinking Hat Media, PR and content marketing agency. I know that you work a lot with your clients on CSR and how they communicate that effectively and authentically. But what got you from there to sitting in a podcast studio today?
So I guess you could say I'm a poacher turned gamekeeper, because I originally trained as a journalist, and my dream was to become a foreign aid correspondent, actually, because I felt really passionate about people and countries in poverty. And I also felt really passionate about the way that the news was delivered and communicated. I felt there was a lack of diversity, but somehow the dream got derailed and I ended up in PR, which I didn't even realise I didn't understand at the time, to be honest. I didn't know what it was, but it turns out I'm quite good at it. So I started working for a top 20 agency in London. And then about 10 years ago, I launched my own agency, Thinking Hat Media, partly because I wanted a better work-life balance, also because I wanted to work with brands that were driving change and trying to make a difference in the world. And I think what's really exciting about the work we do in public relations is that we are part of being able to shape and change that narrative and that public perception, either through content or PR or video or social. And that's really what I love about what I do. And it's interesting because it's come full circle for me, because actually what we do is about telling good stories, which is what I was originally trained to do. Anyway, enough about me, Iain. What about you? I mean, you're got 20 years in the game. What's led you here?
Yeah, that really does make me feel quite old, actually, when you say that. Yeah, almost 2 decades. I'm in my 19th year running
Wow.
the agency now, which is Base Creative. But it started for me. I mean, I love business. I love all the operational side, as well, of course, the marketing side of running an agency. But it started for me just essentially building websites, and that's it. That's without really understanding even what they were doing, or what the reason my clients at the time were hiring me to do. I feel though I probably pressed reset on the agency about 4 times. That's just responding to industry changes, market conditions, and also technology. But it's great. Where the agency is today is a far away from where it was. Certainly with the team and the work that we're doing. We've had some really great successes over the last few years, financially more than anything. And for me and for many of the team, though, that was quite a defining moment, because making money for ourselves, making money for our clients didn't necessarily seem like that was what was getting us out of bed. yes, we can do that. And of course, as you've mentioned earlier, return on investment being super important. But what's our place in the world? And so we did a bit of navel gazing. And this was about two and a bit years ago. And we thought, okay, well, what if it is not financially or not purely about the finances? What is it that's getting us out of bed? Why are we doing the things that we do? So we looked at our clients and realized there were a few really standout clients for us who were having, a positive impact and making waves in their industry and for the planet. So whether it be sustainable energy, maybe it's around education, maybe they're curing cancer. These are the clients that we realized we love working with, and we want to tell the world about, not because they pay the bills, but because the world should know about them. And that realization was definitely a defining moment in my career. And so we created a new brand called Exceptional, which was launched the 1st of February 2024, so last year. And that side of our agency is really about working with organizations that are driving a positive change. And we feel that, our role in that is about connecting the innovations and the ideas that are changing the world with the people that need to know about them. And that's our role, that's our purpose. And from that, our internal mantra is amplify the good in the world. And hence this podcast was born. And Emma, you and I spoke about how we could collaborate on it. And here we are. And it allowed me and our team to talk genuinely and authentically about, the campaigns that we were being involved in and wanted to push, which brings us nicely on to our theme today.
So a theme coming up a lot in today's show is authenticity. How much does it matter to a campaign's success, and how much authenticity do professionals in the PR and marketing industry need to have to be successful in their careers? I think our wonderful guest, Vanessa, might have an opinion on this. She is a true generalist marketer with over 10 years experience, spanning many sectors and disciplines, from content and paid to influencer marketing. She has worked in-house and agency side for brands such as Superdrug and Revolut, where she ran the largest fintech influencer collaboration of its time with Sidemen and Anthony Joshua. More on that later. She is currently the Global Business Director at the Lego Group account for Publicis, and we are thrilled to have Vanessa Jarrad with us today. Welcome, Vanessa.
Hi, Vanessa.
Thank you so much. Hi, guys.
It's amazing to have you, and just talking about your potted career history. You've got such a breadth of experience. I'm not sure where to start, but perhaps you could tell us, did you always want to get into marketing and the media?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I love hearing your story as well about how it started in journalism and ended up in PR. And I think similar, but in a different way. I don't think I set out to be a marketer. Funnily enough, I went into event management originally. So I wanted to be like a professional party planner, put it that way, because I loved organising stuff. I loved being around people, and all of that really energised me. So I thought that's what I wanted to do. And at the same time, weirdly ran a childcare business. So I was doing two really random things completely separate to marketing. And both of those, I realised, were not actually great for a work-life balance, because they are weekends, they are evening work. Yeah. And I really wanted something that was a little bit more kind of lifestyle orientated, as I found myself never free, never available to see friends and family. And I actually fell into PR. So that's kind of where it all started, was PR. And from there developed, and I'm a proud generalist, I would say that as well. I think there's a lot of different rhetorics around specialisms in journalism, but I'm proud to be quite a generalist in marketing. So I've worked across lots of different sectors and roles, and it's been, a really exciting career so far.
Vanessa, you've worked on the Revolut account.
Yes, I have.
One of the campaigns was Sidemen. Just give us a bit of a background about the Sidemen campaign, and we're going to get into the detail of it.
Yeah, so it was a massive campaign. At the time of its launch, was the largest fintech. I say influencer, but they're really celebrities. They had at the time over 130 million followers combined across their channels. So huge campaign for Revolut, and it was really the first time they'd done anything like that. And with the Sidemen. So when I say collaboration, it wasn't just product placement or content. No. It included a product launch. So a unique Sidemen Revolut card that people could purchase on the app. specific benefits within the app as well, so you could get discounts off their products. So it really was kind of a joint venture in that case.
And just to make sure our listeners and our viewers know who the Sidemen are, just in less than 6 seconds, how would you describe them?
The Sidemen are very hard to capture in one word. They are a group of now quite young men that really have made waves in gaming and resonate on YouTube, just being themselves. And that's how they've become famous. They're actually quite hard to capture in one sentence.
I bet they are. I mean, that's since 2013. Right? So that's like 12 years since they've started. Which is a long time ago. Now, for those of you who are listening and watching, I'd definitely head over, Google Revolut Sidemen, have a look at the clip. Now, the clip is, the kind of trailer, if you like, is the Sidemen probably doing what Sidemen do, which is messing about, and then kind of holding up a credit card with the Revolut. I'm wondering about the connection between Sidemen and Revolut. You've got a payments company, and guys who like gaming and messing about. What's the connection? Yeah. Where is it? Did that work?
That's a really interesting question. So Revolut has a really over-index on like a younger male audience. So that 18 to 24 men was such a target for Revolut. So for some reason that brand, and I don't think that was intentional, that just kind of happened, that cohort of kind of younger guys really resonated with the brand. So it was, the Sidemen were really selected in that sense because they really over-index on that audience. They have quite a young following, heavily kind of male-dominated. But it's an interesting collaboration because I think it resonated, but with a lot of existing users. So when you think about, that partnership and that choice, interesting one for Revolut to go with and go down because they kind of have that fan base already. And we saw that in the results and how it performed. But yeah, it definitely worked for kind of that brand building and that resonating with the audience they have. Okay,
so the idea was, let's speak to this demographic because Sidemen have it, they have that audience, and we want to push it out into that audience, which you've acknowledged was existing to a degree anyway.
Yeah.
It's an influencer marketing campaign. What's your view on working with them or influencer marketing generally? Was that tie up? Did it work really?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. A lot of learnings from that in the sense of I think we treat influencer, and like I said earlier, they're almost celebrities. 130 million followers on their platforms, wow. Massive reach, like so much engagement. I don't know if you've ever watched a Sidemen video, but they can be an hour and a half long, and we talk about like the attention economy and things like that, and they're managing to grab people doing silly stuff for like an hour and a half. So I think they're amazing for that capture, and obviously they've got a lot of affinity there. But I do think we can fall in the trap of just treating them like an influencer or doing a bit of product placement, that kind of thing. But I do think they need to be treated quite separately. Like if you look at celebrity campaigns that really work, like my favourite example is always like Gary Lineker and Walker Crisps. I know, but everybody knows them and it's synonymous, but it's a long-term thing. Like he's part of the brand. And I think a lot of brands can get into the trouble of just needing a big name and just tagging it on and having lots of different people all the time and not thinking about the kind of longer term. And also those celebrities operate a lot differently than, say, an influencer with, I don't know, maybe 50, 100,000 followers on Instagram where they talk to their audience directly.
I agree with you. In my career, I've managed a lot of influencer marketing campaigns, and the ones that are most successful are the ones where the celebrity or the influencer has an affinity to the brand. If there isn't that alignment with their values, it just doesn't work, does it? It doesn't seem credible.
No, and I think that's the thing. Sidemen were great from an audience perspective. They were really good, and that resonation was there, and the audience, everything matched. But I do think, like, is that company they were really passionate about to start with? And you're right. I think there's a lot to be said for going after celebrities and influencers that already know about your brand or love your brand, or have worked with very similar businesses, or have that kind of, I don't know, that relationship that would be a little bit more conducive. Like Revolut now are partnering with Grace Beverley. To me, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because Revolut have got a big business side and the business card and their business accounts, and she is obviously all over that with kind of her brand and Tala. So I think that makes some more sense. And I think they've come a long way in looking at the partnerships now more from an authenticity standpoint.
What was it like working with Sidemen on the Revolut campaign?
Yeah.
Was there an element in the moment that you thought, this isn't working?
I don't think it necessarily, this isn't working, but I think we had to do a lot to make sure they were educated on the product, they understood it and could communicate it in that authentic manner. And having, you know, maybe they'd been a bit more passionate about it in the first place, it would have been easier, I think, to sell that in. But funnily enough, talking about was there a moment where like it worked well or didn't, then when they were themselves and they were mucking about, weirdly were the best moments.
Right.
So I think we can talk about authenticity with product match and brand match, but also you need to allow your influencers or your celebrities to authentically be themselves in what you're doing. And we were on set for 8 hours. We had 160 shots we needed to get. It was a crazy day with a massive shot list.
Wow.
And it was go, like 2 breaks, kind of get it all in. But actually them mucking about and being themselves is where we got the best content.
And so you've seen, as we all have, that video, which I think we know which one we're talking about. You know what made the final cut.
Yes.
You go, you know what? The ones that made the final cut is when they were just being themselves rather than some director telling them you need to do this, look like that, and say these words, I assume. Yeah,
definitely. And it's such a balance, isn't it? Because it's hard. As a marketer, you're there on set and you know you need to get different content. You know you've got all these platforms and it's in the back of your head, I've got to get all this stuff by the end of the day. But actually there was a moment where KSI was just literally mucking about in the corner.
That's one of the Sidemen, right?
That's one of the Sidemen. He's the most famous Sideman, I'd say. He's kind of got a brand of his own. He's quite a celebrity in his own right, as well as the partnership he has with the boys. But he was just mucking about and we gave him a Revolut card and a phone and he screamed to camera with all of them in the background. And that I can't even call it a piece of content. It was a really off-the-cuff moment that I just saw and literally shoved a phone in his hand. And that became the best performing TikTok ad that Revolut launched at the time. And it wasn't intentional. It certainly wasn't on the shot list.
Wow.
So I think moments like that taught me a lot of actually how do you navigate that kind of authentic, real content with what you know you need to get as a marketer. And I think that balance is hard, but I do think it can be done.
Can we talk a bit more about the nuts and bolts of it, the detail?
Yeah.
How long did it take from signing Sidemen to actually seeing a finished creative asset go live?
Yeah, 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
And it was a crazy 8 weeks. So I was lucky enough to work with an incredible agency that did the kind of talent piece and also worked with us on the content production, etc. Otherwise it would not have been possible. But that 8 weeks was crazy. And it wasn't just 8 weeks from signing contract to going live. That included product development in the app. So there was stuff that needed to be actually created in the app, a physical product to be created and designed and launched as well. Different kind of development in the app to ensure the benefits worked, all the setup that went in the background to that as well, and all the content creation. Okay. So it was, to say it was a marathon was an understatement. It was a really intense 8 weeks, and a massive launch party as well. That was huge. So
a big celebration in the end. Then.
Big celebration, yeah.
Let's talk about costs.
Yeah.
What was what was invested into a campaign like that? How much did you pay Sidemen?
Great question. Big number. I'd say probably more than you would think. So in the multi-millions.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yes, they're not cheap.
Did you see that returned to you?
So interestingly, I find that fascinating, that question, because the way you measure those kind of campaigns, I think, is super interesting. So going into it, all the KPIs that were set from a high level on the partnership were based on sign-ups and something that Revolut used called NAPs, which is new active people. So that's not just someone signing up and getting the £20 bonus. It's someone actually using the product and using the app. So they were the KPIs. And the KPIs set for that were 182,000 signups and 50,000 new active people. So that was kind of the goal. Within the first 10 days, there was 17,000 signups and 2,000 new active people.
Well off the mark in terms of what was hoped for.
It was a good, for 10 days, I think good. Okay. But it really was a kind of peak, and then those things plateau. So it's really hard to kind of maintain that level of engagement. It really peaked and then it kind of plateaued out. So the duration of the campaign, it did well, but did it meet those numbers? No. But that's where I question, is signups and is new active people the right kind of metrics to look at? because there's so much to be said for brands like Revolut. They're a scale up, I suppose you would call them, but they still have a lot of awareness work to do. They still have a lot of education work to do, and we can't always focus on the bottom funnel and conversions, and
No, sure.
especially with influencer stuff. It is that brand building, it's that brand love, it's that resonation, it's that top of mind awareness, especially when you're competing against a Monzo. So I do think the way we measure influencer campaigns needs to be maybe addressed sometimes, and not always thought about. Like, something I'd love to ask you guys, do you think they're a conversion driving tool? Would you say an influencers for conversion?
No. Well, I mean, there's this thing I talk about a bit. I read it somewhere, so now I continue to talk about it as if it was my own idea. It's not. This thing called performance branding, and that's very much about awareness building to such a degree. If marketing budgets were put into this performance branding element where we build awareness, then when it comes to the sale, it's already made. Yeah. It's like, Coca-Cola is a great example. Branding is everywhere. When you go into the shop, when you're ready to take an action and buy, you don't ask the shopkeeper to pitch to you the different drinks he's got or they've got for sale. The sale is already made. You're going in and you know what you're going to buy. And influencer marketing definitely sits into that, as you say, top of the funnel, into that awareness stage. And so you measuring that, and it's probably the same for PR, isn't done by sign-ups or even money in the bank, but it needs to relate to it. Otherwise, why would you do it?
It does. I mean, PR's a very tricky thing to measure in terms of impact and success. And, we can give clients stats on readership and reach and all of that kind of stuff. But there's, I guess, the wider KPIs and kind of measurement function that is sentiment, it is online reputation, that there's so many things to consider. But I think going back to the influencer marketing piece, I remember there was one campaign I was involved in years ago involving Pauline Quirk from Birds of a Feather, who's sadly been diagnosed with dementia, bless her. And at the time she was heavily overweight, and I'd managed to negotiate an endorsement deal for her with Lighter Life, the weight loss brand. And Pauline, through using this brand, lost 8 stone in 8 months. And I remember getting her on the front cover. I know she did The Sun, actually. An interview with The Sun. We got her on the front cover of Woman magazine. And then she appeared on This Morning to do her first TV interview. She crashed the brand's website. Everybody was clamouring to buy their products because she was on the sofa, 8 stone lighter, and people wanted to look like her. So I think they did really well off the back of that endorsement.
Wow.
So it was a big investment for the brand, but I think they got that back and some through sign-ups, through brand awareness, through that reputational piece. Pauline gave them credibility. She helped put them on the map. So done well with the right celebrity or influencer can be brilliant. Brands can really reap the rewards. Yeah.
Let's talk about another campaign that you've worked on with Anthony Joshua. Now, I've looked at the video. We've got a tie-up with Revolut. Anthony Joshua boxing, supporting grassroots boxing. I'm not getting it just yet. What's the connection between a company, as I say, that's known for FX and payments with grassroots boxing?
Yeah, so I came in on the tail end of that one, but it was really interesting, and that was the first foray that Revolut had into celebrity. So I think testing the waters, trying things out, again, great name, big name. But I do think what they did very well there was the link with charity that they had.
Right.
So there was a clear kind of, when we talk about purpose-driven and purpose-driven marketing, they're a financial business. They want to give back as well. So that's very top of mind for Revolut. So they said, okay, for every card sold, we donate a portion of money from the sales to grassroots foundations, which they did do. And that's it was really nice to come in at that point and do the donation to the Boxing Federation in the UK. So that was great. And I think really good. But I do think, to be honest, the Anthony Joshua, the Sidemen, the different celebrities they had at the time, I think a lot of it was Revolut finding their feet with how do we do this stuff? How do we work with the names? But unlike your example there, I think there was a tendency to go name first then campaign, rather than what are we actually trying to achieve?
Right.
What's the outcome? What do we want? Where's the gap in the business? Like, who's our audience? How can we reach them? How can we talk to them? Thinking not just about sign-ups, but what are the brand building stuff we want to do? And then who are the best people to help us there, or who already love our brand? So I think, interestingly, when I look at how far they've come, I really feel like they've made that shift rather than going name first. Because I think all companies can kind of fall into that trap. Big, shiny name. Let's just go for them. And they almost try and wedge a campaign in rather than going, what are we actually trying to do? And then work backwards.
Yeah. What was the idea behind the campaign originally? Then was it just about supporting grassroots? You said, was it for every sign up, or maybe it's a NAP using Revolut's terminology, £1 towards it up to, or at least 50 grand? That was right.
Yes, it was. So it was a good. I can't remember the exact figure that we donated, but it was a good few £1,000s. It was quite substantial because the campaign did actually do very well, and it was an interesting one. Again, you can't always plan it. But I think Anthony Joshua, when you compare, for example, to the Sidemen, he was did not cost as much money. There wasn't as much content. There wasn't as much buzz and noise around it, but actually equally did as well. And it was Revolut testing as well the launch of a card. So they were doing that kind of collaboration piece where they launched a product and a card with AJ, and they did the same thing with the Sidemen, for example. But why they did it, I question if that was really clear cut. Again, I think it was the name. They wanted to work with some big people. They found some big names that were willing to work with Revolut. So I think there could be more done behind actually why are we working with certain influencers? What are we doing? So I think that's a big learning from all of that, is I think the purpose and the reason behind it was more to do with the name and the product placement and the endorsement. But it did work. It did do well. But again, I question the longevity, because you know about this now because I've told you about it and you've looked it up and you've looked up the campaigns. But there's a lot of stuff that went into creating all that content and that partnership. But does it live on to today? No. And it doesn't have that longevity. It's that using celebrity in the short term, going to different celebrities. But I actually think you really need to think about your long term with people like celebs. You need that kind of long-term product endorsement and that long-term relationship rather than small stints where you've got your name badged on something.
So what would you say is, what counts as long-term?
Yeah, great question, actually. I don't think there's a time on it. I don't think there's a certain amount of years, but I think it's making sure the longevity is there from a sense of, does this partnership work beyond an initial campaign that's going to be live for 8 months? And then after that, it's going to die a death and you're never going to hear about them again. The long term doesn't necessarily need to be a partnership, but will that name live on with the brand and be synonymous longer term? And will it continue to kind of reap the benefits? So I think you should always do probably 2 to 3 years with a celeb at least, and work with very few and not have 5 of them on your roster for short periods of time, because it's expensive. And does it kind of reap the rewards? I would question that in the short term.
I mean, like you said, the best example is Gary Lineker and the Walkers.
Right.
So
Does he still do
wow.
that?
I don't know, but that's the thing. I still know about it. And
totally.
You see him and I think crisps. And it's like, it's crazy.
Not football or
No.
England's captain.
No, I think crisps when I see him. But that's the thing, is I think that's incredible. And, you know, the classic as well, Michael Jordan and Nike, it's like these kind of partnerships, they just lived on. And I'm seeing, I don't know if you've seen that Adenola Kendall Jenner one recently, but I think that's genius. So Adenola, which is a fitness brand, have linked with Kendall Jenner, and they've created a curated product line, and it's just gone off. Like everyone's obsessed with it, and I think it's genius. I think it's so good. They're like a brand that's really coming up through the ranks. They're known for their good quality products. She is so synonymous with their audience, but also it does everything that like says on the tin kind of thing. So I think that's one I could see having real legs, but I really want to see them continue to do that, and I really hope that they partner with her for a long time.
Let's talk about the detail.
Yeah.
How much did it cost? How much did you pay Anthony Joshua?
I don't know. I actually don't know.
I'm allowed to ask. I feel I'm asking
can.
For our viewers, because
you can.
Probably a fraction of what was paid to Sidemen, just because there's so many of them.
Yes. There is 6. Yeah, 6 or 7.
Sidemen.
Goodness, I should know that number off the top of my head. But yeah, I think there's 6 or 7 of them. But no, Anthony and Joshua was a lot more, I'd say, cost effective than the Sidemen were, yeah.
And you've confirmed that you met the charity donation part, which was 50K.
Yeah.
And beyond.
Yeah, definitely beyond. Yeah, it surpassed expectations, which was amazing.
Any other KPIs that were measured and outshone their expectations?
So the sign-ups did actually outperform the expectations, and I think for two reasons. I think the expectations on that one were quite minimal because it was the first time they'd done anything like that. So that was their first foray into celebrity and influencer. And I came off the back of that. So a whole team was hired into Revolut off the back of that AJ campaign. So they kind of tested it, and then they hired lots of people to create an influencer, a brand marketing department. So I actually came in during that time, which was really exciting because it was all getting set up and it was very new, and it was a new channel for them. So I think they did set their expectations quite realistically, and it surpassed. But I think that was great because that said to Revolut, okay, we're onto something here. And they've continued to develop that kind of influencer platform that they've got today.
Vanessa, so from boxing to beauty, would love to hear more about your experience at Superdrug. And I think there was, from memory, quite a big campaign you were involved in that was really purpose-driven that I'd love to hear more about.
Yeah. My time at A.S. Watson, so they're the holding company that own Superdrug, Savers, the perfume shop, and I worked in the content marketing department. So what we did is we created the actual assets that were then used in the campaigns across all channels. And Superdrug, I loved working on Superdrug. First of all, they really are an authentic brand in that they live and breathe what they say and what they do. And they're really driven to create more diversity in the beauty industry. I think we all know it's a journey, and I think it's getting there, but there does need to be a lot more diversity and inclusion within the beauty industry. And also the beauty standards need to be challenged, and things like airbrushing and stuff like that. And I was lucky enough to be involved in a complete kind of rebrand for Superdrug. So if you go into store today and you see the big pictures behind the tills, and you see all of the point of sale pieces and the different areas with the healthcare section and the beauty section, that was all we shot that as part of this kind of rebrand. And it really was a full diverse crew of people, and the shoot was really great, like such good vibes. Everyone was kind of passionate, and you can really see that coming through in the pictures. So that was really, really powerful. And at the same time, we worked with Savers, another brand that A.S. Watson own, where they used real store staff in a shoot as well to kind of bring the name together. So I think we're seeing it in the beauty industry with more companies using their people, or actually using their audience in the content. And I think that's really powerful. So not just celebrity and influencer, but how do you bring your real audience into your content? How do you bring your staff? Because they're part of your brand as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just your customers.
Vanessa, thank you for getting deep into some of the campaigns you've been working on, and appreciate asking some of the questions, especially around, costs and return. I think whenever we start a marketing campaign, that's the first question our clients ask us.
Yeah.
How much money are we going to make after it? And of course, it's a valid question, so I appreciate your insight on that. Now, in each of our episodes, we like to give some honourable mentions, some purpose-led organisations, a bit of a shout out. We'll all know them. We probably haven't worked on them, but maybe we want to. The first one, and I did have gifts for all of you. I was going to get them out today for the episode. I won't now. It's Tony's Chocolonely. You guys have heard of that, right?
Yeah,
have you tasted it?
I have. Love it. Obsessed.
You love it. Okay. Because we want to get deeper more about the purpose-led side of things, I want to ask a couple of questions around, what we think about Tony's Chocolonely, right? Do you think people would buy their chocolate if they weren't trying to save the world creating it?
Ooh. Well, first thing to say is I'm ashamed, so I've never tried Tony's Chocolonely.
It is delicious.
It is good.
But I love the story behind the brand. It's so compelling.
Yeah.
I love what they're trying to do. I think branding wise, I don't feel like it's probably marketed towards me. I actually thought it was a Willy Wonka chocolate bar, more aimed
it's got a similar kind of look in its branding and its packaging.
It does, and I felt like, this is a chocolate bar for kids. To be honest, I thought my 10-year-old son would love this. I didn't feel like it was actually marketed towards me necessarily. Maybe that's why I've never tried it, but I love the ethos of the brand and what they're trying to do, and I think that's really important.
Yeah.
But are people buying it because they want to have a positive impact on the world world? Are they buying it because they like chocolate?
Yeah.
You said, it looks like it's marketed towards kids, and we are talking about how we're balancing that kind of the marketing element of being purpose-led. Do kids care about saving the world?
Interesting, because I feel Tony's really marketed to me, but I used to live in East London with lots of small corner shops that over-index on Tony's Chocolonely. So it wasn't just the marketing, but the distribution of their product. So I think depending on where you live, for me, it was very like in my face all the time. And I got to know the story, and I felt quite passionate about that. But I agree your point. It's an interesting one, but I think they're starting to do more to link their brand with their message. And I don't know if you've seen their rebuttal to the Cadbury's ad.
No, I haven't.
That's been really interesting. So Cadbury's have done an amazing campaign recently where they've cut up sections on their bar on the front packaging, and they've kind of put some quirky, funny phrases on it, like the person that does the washing up and then the person that actually does the cooking. And they've shown how basically it's to say, like, you get that much of the chocolate if you do the cooking, you get. And it's really fun, and it's done really well, and they've got a lot of social buzz around this campaign. Wow. But Tony's, I think, have done a brilliant comeback. And they've shown their packaging and said, yeah, but here's, slave trade, here's like fair trade, this is the, they've brought the ethical stuff up in rebuttal to Cadbury's ads. And I think that's working well for them, because then people are questioning and going, oh, actually, do I want to buy that chocolate that's maybe not fair trade or maybe is using child exploitation and stuff like that. But I also feel like as marketers, like I've researched their story. I've watched talks about their story and why they exist. I've really gone deep into it. But I also don't know, does the general person know as much as I do? Because I've seen them on stage. I've seen their CMO talk on stage about their journey. And that's where I'm been bought in. But are they doing that to the public?
Vanessa, did you know much about their story before you bought the chocolate, or did you buy it because it was there in abundance in your local shop and you thought, oh, that looks good, I'll give it a go?
Yeah, exactly. So I first came across it and bought it because it was novel everywhere and it looked quite fun. And then I was like, this is actually really nice. The passion didn't come until I saw their CMO talk on stage. So it's quite interesting. Yeah, I didn't buy it because of the story to start with, but I fell in love with their story and then became quite an advocate for the brand.
So marketing, there's got to be a bit of an education piece as well then, because selling chocolate is one thing. Ultimately, you're satisfying perhaps a need to indulge in something that's, fairly luxury, something sweet, something you feel like you want to reward yourself, so you have a bar of chocolate. Connecting that to saving the world is a difficult stretch, I think. So it comes around education. So it's not about selling chocolate, it's also about educating the world. I think your experience with Tony's is similar to mine. I've seen them speak on stage at the Blue Earth Summit. Yeah. I think it was the CEO. His name's not Tony. That's a bit disappointing. But it was around education. It's about saying, yes, we're making chocolate, but we make it in this way. And by buying chocolate from us, you're actually having a more positive impact on the planet. I suppose it's a question, I'm just saying this out loud now, is it a positive impact, or is it just less detrimental?
I do think they are having a positive impact if you listen to their story and what they're doing. So I don't know if you heard this bit, but they go after farms with that higher index on child slave labour to turn that around and to undo that, which I think is amazing and a really, for a brand to do that, and is a really hard challenge, and I think it's incredible. But I think I could see they could do more in their marketing to get that message out there, because I do think there's a purpose-led marketing, there's a big place for it. And I think if people knew that, I think people would care and make better decisions. It's the same stuff with the fair trade piece, right? You see that label on everything now, but I think with the cocoa farms, it can be a bit more hidden, and I think they're really trying to bring it to the forefront. But they've certainly got a challenge on their hands to do that.
Yeah, brilliant! Wow, it sounds like you know a lot about Tony's Chocolonely.
I do.
Which is great.
I think they're great. I think they're amazing. I do actually.
Vanessa, before we go, I just wondered if you could talk to us a little bit about your new coaching venture, which relates to that authenticity piece. Be great to understand what you're trying to achieve with that.
Yeah, no, great question. So me personally have been on a bit of a journey with public speaking and confidence in my own voice. So even sitting here today, this is me constantly practicing to make sure I can show up as my kind of authentic self and do this stuff with confidence. But I realised through my own journey that so many people struggle with this stuff. They're thrown in and they haven't had the right training, or they just lack a complete self-belief in themselves that they can do this stuff. And it can manifest like it did with me, with awful panic attacks, and it can really set your career back as well.
Wow.
So over the years in marketing and media and the experience I've had, I've realised there isn't enough support for people out there that truly struggle. And I think there's a lot of great public speaking kind of coaching and trainings that you can go on, but they're really focused on the output. And for me, it's really pacing over the symptoms and the cracks of your confidence. So what I really want to do is help support people in true belief in themselves. So that's what I'm going to start doing is really supporting people out there that are struggling.
Sounds amazing. Where can our viewers and listeners go to find out more?
Yeah, so if you follow me on LinkedIn, I post a lot about it on there. So find Vanessa Jarrad on LinkedIn. And very soon I'll be launching the Speak Easy Society, which will be my coaching platform.
Amazing. Vanessa, thank you for sharing your insights today. That's nearly a wrap. Today we've delved deep into the authenticity around marketing with Emma and Vanessa. In every episode, we're going to be spotlighting marketing leaders to tell us about their journey in marketing. You can head to pitchpurpose.co.uk where you can find all of our socials and other places that you can like, share and subscribe to our podcast. Vanessa, thank you for coming on the show today. It's been wonderful to have you.
Thank you. It's been really fun.
Thanks.
That's been Pitch Purpose. My name is Ian Scott. I'm with Emma Healy and we'll see you on the next one.